do you look at therapy as kind of being the cornerstone of a lot
I
of your
do.
work, and how did it serve as such? And then what did you do to kind of
Yeah.
layer on top of the therapy to give yourself some
Yeah.
success in those early days?
Yeah, yeah. So I want to definitely say that therapy was the cornerstone of a lot of my healing and continues to be, and certainly the cornerstone of my
Yep.
sobriety. I did not go into therapy to try to stop drinking. That was not it. I didn't even become sober curious until about 9 months after initially
Mm.
starting therapy. So, obviously we got into family history. I talked about my family, my parents' struggles with it. And so there was always this, you know, ability to talk about it, but a lot of times it was too painful at the beginning to really dive into it as a problem that I had. So we could talk about it generally, but I never was like, I need help. And so the curiosity that my therapist showed and the willingness to never tell me what to do, but to always ask really good questions. She would always ask really great questions. That eventually, like, this is the thing too. It's like, I went back after I was probably maybe, I don't know, 8 months sober. I used to watch the show Intervention all the
Yeah.
time, if you ever
I have
saw it.
seen
And I
probably
am
every
just
episode
like,
I've probably seen.
I am like in shock now. I'm like, I can't believe, I mean, I can believe that it was a show because people are desperately wanting their family members to be better. The thing my therapist never did was say, you need to stop drinking.
Mm.
She, she gave me an analogy as we were working through it. She said, I'll never forget it. And it's, every time I tell my story, I do want to bring this in. But she said, you've done a masterful job of surviving. And I look at alcohol as a way that I
Hmm.
survived. Me personally, I don't demonize it. I think if you look at it objectively, there's no redeeming qualities about alcohol itself, but it provided a lot of ability for me to
Yeah.
survive. So she was like, you've done a masterful job at surviving. Alcohol has been one of your most effective tools. Would you like a set of new tools?
Mm.
And so it was just really helpful to realize that she wasn't like, you need to stop drinking. She just asked, like, is this the most effective tool in your toolbox? And I had to sit with that and be like, no, because it's not allowing me to do the things I want to do and feel the way that I want to feel. So, there was a long period of being sober curious, starting to listen to the podcast. I read, Quit Like a Woman. It was so encouraging. And I read it, all of it in a bar. It became its own like harm reduction because I was like sit down with a beer or two, and then by the end of the book I was like, I don't think I'm gonna go get another one. I think I'm
I
just
love
gonna
that.
finish reading the book. And so then after that, she had encouraged me. My therapist had encouraged me. She's like, can you just try? Can we just give it a couple days? Because I mean, I was drinking, and she also did ask, and it was one of the most scary propositions I had ever had. But she's like, can you just track your drinks for a week?
Mm.
And I'm like, you don't want me to do that. Like, you really don't want. She's like, no, like, no judgment. There was never any judgment, no shame, no any of that. She just is like, if we're going to try to get a baseline, like, we got to understand what we're dealing with. And so after doing that, that was really like a whoa
Mm.
moment. Cause I thought, I mean, tolerance is different for everybody. It just was very glaring to me how much I
Because
was able to
it's
drink.
just the sheer volume. You were just like, I've never
Yeah,
had to come face to face with this. Yeah.
no. Yeah, no. And then, it's like my lifestyle was very similar. I was still working out, still playing, so I still play pickup basketball about 6 times a week. So I was still doing that. I don't know how I was doing that, but yeah, that was the first time that I had to really look at it on paper as like cold, hard numbers. And especially being a coach, I mean, essentially it was like watching
Yeah.
film of a bad
Yeah.
game. And you're just like, oh, okay. So I had to look at that. And so she was like, what's the longest you've ever gone without drinking? And I was like, a day. And she's like, okay, can you try two? And me being the overachiever, I was like, I'll do four. And so I did four, just to kind of be
Yeah.
annoying and be an overachiever. And haven't had a drink since.
Wow. Congratulations on
Thank
getting
you.
to this place. I got a lot of
Yeah.
questions, and I first of all, what a fantastic invitation by way of your therapist in saying, "Would you like a new set of
Yeah.
tools?" I feel like sometimes that can be such a preventative like hurdle for folks moving into a new direction, is because they just don't know what the hell to do, right? Like I think getting
Yeah.
that degree of like hope can give you the, just the wherewithal, and I feel like the momentum that you need to get 4 days, right? Because you're like, look,
Yeah.
I have someone here who's holding my hand on this. I think it's really important. And I've had my own experience with therapeutic support in my journey, and I think it's been integral, not just from the standpoint of abstaining from alcohol, but more
Yeah.
specifically on kind of going back in and trying to understand more about myself, so that I'm living more intentionally, not just today, but tomorrow. So
Right.
hats off to you on that. I appreciate you guys listening to the Stacking Days podcast. I hope this episode added value to your recovery and wellness journey. Before we go our separate ways, let's connect on social. You can find us on TikTok and Instagram at Stacking Days, or via the website www.stackingdays.com. By supporting the show, you can play a direct role in amplifying people of color in their pursuit of recovery. The easiest way to do that is to subscribe or hit the follow button. This way, you'll never miss an episode, all while playing an active part in creating the ecosystem where diverse voices and healing matter. This show is for the purpose of education and connection, and is not a replacement for therapy or recovery care. For more information on the resources and support available, take a look at SAMHSA and some other resources shared in the description. Until we meet again, be well, one day at a time.